What's up? It's your boy D Change coming at you with another Daily Dave. Today it's Monday, March 30th, 2020, 11:55 p.m. Today, let's talk about leadership. What does it mean to be a leader? What is leadership? What's your favorite leadership style? there's I guess there's in these times, you do have to think about something like that, or it's on a lot of people's minds purely because you feel like as a community, as a people, as a city, state, nation, world, we look to our leaders for um, we look to our leaders to lead us through these tumultuous times, right? And so it kind of made me think about, what are the characteristics that people do look for in a leader? Because I think that's going to run the gamut regardless. And it kind of makes me think about some personal experiences I've had. So if you don't know me very well, like generally I'm pretty straight edge in the sense that I I do believe in like law, rule of law, letter of the law. Rules are to be followed or whatever. Kind of like stuff like that. Generally that's how I behave, right? I try to I feel like I try to have some sort of alignment with morality and the rules that are put in place to represent that morality. There was a funny time when a friend made like a D&D alignment chart out of a few of us, and I was placed in the lawful good category, which is straight up like goody two shoes. Um, always follows the law and is always moral. But I feel like these days I would lean more towards neutral good, because I feel like I have a sense of morality that I wouldn't want to betray, because I'm such a hippie and an idealist. But in terms of actual law, like there's plenty of stuff I think is like really silly. Um, and I've noticed this has been a personality trait of mine for a while. I don't know if it's like necessarily new or if it's something I've done for a lot of my life, but unfortunately, I've noticed this had become a problem with former employers, right? So I feel like I've had former employers that asked me to do things or demanded things of me that I felt were either like not moral or just really against my character, right? And those were the times I had the most conflict within myself about whether or not I should do something, or should I just go live my dreams out and quit? Unfortunately, I don't feel like I have that much leverage in that realm, so to speak. Like I'm not particularly financially independent. I'm not I'm not rich, basically. I don't have you know, a lot of that, I guess, financial power to kind of basically shrug off demands of an employer, right? But I feel like more and more I would rather stick to my own guns than to quote unquote like serve a master that I don't believe in, right? Because yeah, like I feel like the process is just as important as the end goal. Or I'd like to believe that, right? So yeah, I feel like there's been plenty of times where I look to a leader for guidance or for support or for honestly to truly be a beacon of light to myself and my colleagues. And more often than not, like I get let down. Well, in tough situations. I mean, I don't think I'm not trying to say like I would do better in that situation. That's something I would love to. That's a skill I'd love to learn. I'd love to be a good leader in the future. But I feel like in terms of like, hey, even if both of us are screwing up, like we should be able to learn from each other, or we should be part of this growing process together. But there are a lot of times where I feel like, and I'm purposely being vague, but there are a lot of times I feel like, um, it's like this you have a chance for a learning opportunity, but you're gonna squander it and instead like throw one of your employees under the bus, or you would rather look good, you'd rather look better to your colleagues or to people above you, so you're willing to sacrifice people under you, or something like that, right? Or like a third party, like I felt like there was a lot of that going around, and it's just, I don't know, maybe just in general in like corporate, or just that's just how a lot of managers act, I guess. And I was never a big fan. I mean, I get it, dude. Like, I don't like it when someone screws up. But I feel like if you're going to assume the role of someone who's taking care of them, like, you gotta at least guide them through what went wrong, right? Now, there's different schools of thought with this, because I feel like some people think a boss or manager or employer is just like, I pay you, you do the thing, that's all I expect you to do, right? Like, there are a lot of times with contractors, it's like, I'm literally paying you just to do this. Like, you've got to do it right. And if you don't, too bad. Cut your contract off. I'll get someone else to do it for me. But like, I feel like in an employer-employee relationship, there's more to it than that, right? So it just really depends on how you interpret it. Obviously, like if you come from the working class, I feel like you're gonna lean more towards one direction, and if you come from like the employment class, or like, you don't make your money purely from your own labor, you make it from other people's labor or like capital or whatever, yeah, you'll think of it a different way. Like, a lot of business owners try to rationalize this, and they say like, here's the thing about employees, right? And here's some generalizations. This is how they behave. This is how you incentivize them. This is how you punish them. And I guess, I mean, clearly there are a lot more people who are employed than people who are employing. So I feel like there still is this like humanistic approach that ideally we should be taking. So that's why I feel like if you're going to be someone's boss, like, you should assume the role of mentor, teacher, or coach, right? Because the expectation that's because there's all these jokes, right, of like, entry level, or I need an entry level person, 3 to 4 years of experience, highly skilled in these things, college graduate, yada yada yada. And it's like, how do you employ entry level when they're not supposed to have experience, and you're expecting them to already like be a veteran in something, right? So it's just this cyclical thing. It's like a problem. It's a real problem in kind of the human resources realm, right? And perhaps that's what's kind of leading to not economic problems, so to speak. Well, I mean, I think from a structural standpoint, yes, those are economic problems. But yeah, the employee-employer relationship, and kind of how that affects all of our different economies, actually, because I don't think any country really is immune to this. So anyway, I guess the reason why I was thinking of it was just because I've taken like personality tests, of course, and in some of them I feel like they assign some sort of, I forgot where I read it from, but it basically stated that my personality had some sort of like rebellious attitude to it, or like it had a very low respect to authority, which I found really surprising, because I was like, no, I'm really big on authority. Like, I tend to like, I see the hierarchy, I understand like the place, right? But maybe that isn't actually the case. Maybe that was something I was like taught the whole time, and I just accepted it purely because in practice that's how a lot of things happened, right? But I have noticed that in the times where I'm like either, like disappointed in a leader, or just straight up counter to them, I realize like I would tend to lose a lot of respect for them. And as a result, I would sadly become a much poorer performing employee, because at that rate, it's like, you don't motivate me. I don't have trust in you. And I feel like there's no effort for us to like make this working relationship better, So I found that really interesting, and I started connecting the dots, or at least I like looked at the past and saw, can I interpret this in a different way? And I felt like I could. And so, that kind of idealistic thinking of like, don't work for someone if they can't respect you. Like, I do subscribe to that. But at the same time, I realize like the practicality of, there's scarcity, right? Like, oh, if you don't have another job lined up, or you don't have, basically fuck you money, right? Like you don't have those infinite choices, right? Now the idea is like you do want to prepare yourself for that, or you want to be in that position, because it's generally better to be in that position. But yeah. So it's I mean, it's something I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. It's still kind of conflicting. But I have noticed that there are just times where I feel like, man, why does leadership do this? Or like, why do people in leadership positions perform, in my opinion, poorly? Or why do they do things that are counter to the people who serve under them? So that's just a thought I had recently, and it's very applicable now because you can interpret how things are going with the pandemic in different ways, and you can really see different leaders responding differently, and you can judge them however you want to. But in my opinion, there has sadly been a lot of incompetence out there, and that's what, I understandably so, that's what causes a lot of us, like the mass populace, to distrust our authority figures and our leaders and such and such. And that kind of leads into like the American spirit, right? Of just constantly rebelling and being against authority figures, so to speak. But I feel like we've lost a little bit of that magic these days. So maybe it's coming back, but only time will tell. So anyway, that was just something that I was thinking about recently. I like leaders that are very empathetic. I mean, they can be tough, but as long as, especially if they're understanding and they're actually there for your own good. Like there's a difference between like, oh, I'm just gonna like whip you till you're like in great shape, which I think burns out people really quickly. Like I've had a boss who was just like, if you can survive it here, you can survive it anywhere. But that was like at all costs, like basically sociopathic. Like, I don't actually care about you. I just want the results I want, and I'm gonna push you to the limit. Like he was like explicit about that. But I really like someone who actually wants to take the time to like understand you and kind of cater to your needs, because everyone is really different. Like if you try to treat everyone as like a factory robot, you're always gonna have a portion of your workforce like drop out. Or if you grade the workforce, I mean this is why I hate top grading. If you ever heard of that. Like it was supposed to be this like really great like hiring process, but it's like, let's rate everyone on a letter scale. Like what's his name? Jack Welch. He recently passed away. He implemented it at GE, and people contend whether or not it was like the golden period of GE or like the beginning of the failure. So that's how like contentious or controversial it kind of was, right? But yeah, this idea that like you sort candidates and employees by tiers, which again does make sense. But then like the idea was you just keep pruning it to maintain like only the top tier. That kind of doesn't work, because now you're assuming that everyone's going to perform at the same level. And if you're only going to hire for that, like it's completely unsustainable in my opinion. Like how do you find a workforce that's like, especially at a large corporation, that's only like A level, as in like top 10 to 5% of the workforce. Like you better have like a really good benefits package and salaries, because I mean in a way that's what Silicon Valley tried to do, right? They paying people like $500,000 to be senior programmers and stuff like that. And look at them now, just a city overrun by rich young people and homeless people. I don't know. But yeah, something that I probably want to expound on more later. But I guess I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. Like, what do you expect in a leader? What kind of leadership strategies, tactics do you either expect, or do you like, or do you not like? Because there's plenty of things that you can kind of bring up into that conversation, such as like, I don't like it if I do something wrong and you throw me under the bus, especially if you told me to do it. Like, I don't think that's right, right? Or like, how about we share that responsibility? Um, or say, what was one I was got really angry about? Say like, okay, here's one where I can understand like I can understand the point of contention. But like, if you ask me to do something and I have my own way of doing it, and I'm telling you like I'm gonna do it this way, and then you go, no, 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 do it my way because my way is right. Like, why would you know a better way? Like, that's, to me, that's like insulting, right? Or that's the feeling I got when I got the task. I was trying to point out like, listen, I fit this profile, so I should know what it feels like to be in this position. Let me communicate to this person who's in the same position as me. But then my boss was like, no, why don't you just do it my way? And then they got really mad, and I was like, all right. They're like, oh, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm like, dang. And then they ended up like not doing it that great anyway. So I don't know. Ooh, that was kind of loud. That's just something I definitely want to expand on later. But I'm kind of curious as to whether or not you guys think of stuff like that, or have opinions on that. Anyway, I hope you've all been doing well, and that you've been staying healthy and getting enough sleep. And yeah. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Have a good night, or have a good day. Peace out.